We are back today, the weekly profit week. I believe this will be released on week 14. With me today, Thomas Ellis. He is a decorated founder, an absolute professional in the world of sales, currently helping small businesses and early stage founders scale their brands on LinkedIn. He's also the author of the book Better, Unique, and Desirable: Sales Processes That Get Results. Thomas, thank you so much for joining me, man. I can't thank you enough. This is going to be an awesome conversation.
Jack, I'm excited to be here. Let's go.
Yes, sir. So let's start off. I know our big theme when we first chatted about doing this, you've got this philosophy. It's right on your LinkedIn bio, the gospel of sales. Can you take me back really, the details people can look up, but can you take me back to kind of an important pivot point to when this all started for you as far as, sales expertise and knowing that was, I guess, your calling to, pursue this full time? Is there a specific thing that comes to mind?
Well, Jack, that is an excellent question. So I've been in sales leadership for over 35 years, helped manage, train sales managers, sales representatives. I've always had this deep passion for helping others. And it comes back back when I was coaching kids in basketball, teaching them the fundamentals of passing and catching and shooting and dribbling. And when I got into the corporate world, I find myself really helping people understand how to sell. And then when I started my business, really helping small business owners who sales is not necessarily one of their strengths, it's normally operations, to teach them an easy and simple way of how to go out, find business, and close it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you said you've been doing this how many years now?
Well, I've been in sales for over 35 years. I've been running my own business now for about 12 years now.
That's awesome. And now, in terms of now, you're a mentor for a lot of people in your space, and obviously over the course of your career. Is there any mentors that you'd want to mention, or anyone that you'd say you had your biggest takeaway from?
So there are several people. I love Zig Ziglar. Um, People heard about him. The Dale Carnegie's of also Neil Rackham, who came out with spin selling, the first consultative approach to selling. So those are kind of people I looked up to.
That's awesome. And that last name you mentioned, the first, like you mentioned, kind of the first consultant in the world of sales. How would you say, based on the information you got then and how things have, developed since then?
Well, like I tell people, sales hasn't really changed in 100 years. It's not going to change in the next 100 years, even though there's all kind of tools out there. Like now, AI is a very popular thing. Everybody wants to use AI and everything else. There's all kind of tools out there. But at the end of the day, sales is a human to human transaction. And it's going to always be like that.
Yeah, 100%. And now you're specializing in helping founders. Sales and LinkedIn is obviously an outlet that you've been using for a good amount of time. Why does LinkedIn stand out to you as a good, sales funnel, a good funnel for prospecting?
Well, Jack, if I had LinkedIn when I started in sales 35 years ago, I
Yeah.
would own a small island. This is a phenomenal tool. It's free, and it's a tool that you use to educate people on your services and to educate people on how you can help them. Where else can you go and read about people who have written their own profiles, and you watch them and see the kind of content that they post, and you learn about what their interests are in real time? So you can actually follow somebody on LinkedIn. And this is kind of how you and I met on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Um, I meet people every day on LinkedIn, and it's a great tool for educating people and for learning about what people's needs are.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's really that digital resume. I think in my world, being in the YouTube age and the social media age, it's like they'd always talk about like, oh, Instagram and Facebook are like your digital resume. And nobody would ever mention LinkedIn in my circles. And I'm like, no, LinkedIn is your digital resume. That's where it's respected to put your resume. That's where it's respected to talk about, your professionalism. And, if you really want to get a good gauge on someone, I kind of want to know, did they go to school or where did they go to school? What were they doing pre? You can really get an idea of the person's professional journey, I think, and paying attention to those details, especially on sales calls and whatnot, has only paid more dividends than really any other platform out there. Like it doesn't matter that they have a wife and 4 kids. It matters, where they're telling me they're the CEO of a marketing agency. You know, I don't want to look on their background and see nothing about marketing. I want to see, oh, this guy, really knows what he's talking about. And definitely, like you hit on there, the opportunity aspect. It's like you can get on calls, and if you, as obviously you've got your takes on this, kind of stray away from the pitching and the just trying to get the deal done. And if you see it more as an opportunity to create a win-win, as I like, create as many win-wins as you can, then these relationships tend to go on further, and maybe you do end up doing business down the line, but it doesn't have to be kind of right off that sales call. Has that been your experience on the
That
platform as well?
that has been my experience, and I go back to looking at on LinkedIn on their profile. If you read thoroughly in their profile, it kind of tells you who they are. And a good place to find out who they are is by looking at what do they volunteer do, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are the things that they're passionate about, that they love doing? And if you can hone in on there, that opens up a great 2 minute conversation all the time when you understand what they volunteer at and what they're passionate about. The other thing that's very, very, very important is that you're not on LinkedIn to sell anybody anything. I'm on LinkedIn to help people solve problems. So
Yes.
if they happen to have a problem that I can fix and they agree that I can fix it, then we're going to do business, right? So if they don't think I can help them solve the problem, and then there's no business. One way that you build up your superstar status on LinkedIn is by sharing great content. And people will get to really learn about what expertise you have, and they're going to start to label you and call you an expert. So many people over my 12 years of being on LinkedIn have called me names like sales sensei and sales guru and sales expert, and that's all great and wonderful. Um, I those are nice things, but at the end of the day, if you understand what the person's problems are, and if you can communicate to them that you can solve them at a reasonable price, then you're going to win a lot of business.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And now, do you have any? You mentioned Dale Carnegie, and obviously he's got that famous book. I love how I'm how to win friends and influence people. Did you? I assume, when was the first time you got your hands on that book?
So I read that book when I was in my 20s, probably about your age, right? That
Cool.
that was
Yeah.
an interesting book. There's also I love things by Zig Ziglar. One of his
Hmm.
most famous quotes is, and I'll paraphrase this, but if you help enough people to get to where they want to get to, you too will be very successful.
Yes.
And so I
100%.
live my life kind of like about helping others, because if I help enough others meet and exceed their goals, then I will exceed my goals.
100%, man. It follows that. It really follows that simple formula. You know, the more you give, the more you tend to get back, and the key is to really give without expectation, but to become aware of it. You know, I know if I'm providing value every single day to people that need it and want it for of course for free, it's like it can come back to you tenfold with just opportunities left and right. So I think that's a great thing you hit on. I think a lot of people, a lot of founders, they get they don't want to give away their secret sauce, but it's like it's not really, in my experience, it's not necessarily the information, it's the implementation. And it's, can you find those guys that know how to implement and execute, you know?
And that is the whole key. People used to years ago. People said, Thomas, why are you giving them all this stuff? Why are you giving them? They're gonna and I go back to football, right? So if I get your playbook and I know the plays that you're gonna run, okay. If I don't have the talent to stop those plays, I'm still gonna lose, right? Because
Yeah.
I know where you're going, where everybody's going to be at, but if I don't have the talent to stop it, then it doesn't matter. And it all boils down to I can give you all of the secret sources, but if you don't have the mindset or the people to execute the plan, yeah, it doesn't work. And so I give that to people, and then they always come back and say, you know what? I was at a workshop of yours, and you said to do A, B, C, and D. I tried that. It didn't kind of work the same way. Could you help me with that? I'm right, and they become a client.
100%. You sell the implementation, and you sell the execution. That's 100% right. And honestly, if you're a potential prospect, it's like, do you really want to work with somebody who isn't willing to give you out all their secrets for free? Because it means one of two things. It means they either don't really know what they're talking about, or yeah, they're too afraid of the competition around them, which means they don't see themselves as a real leader in the space. Whereas I just say, hey man, share this with whoever you want, but they're going to come to me to implement and execute, because like you just hit on there, it's operate, just operationally, being operationally sound. Now for these potential prospects, I think I want to start, well, actually I want to start with the current people who have businesses, founders that you're currently working with. You talk about they're great at operations, but they're not really great at selling. Where are the How can somebody identify that maybe sales aren't necessarily their thing? And then how can we get over the fear of selling, as I know we mentioned?
So the first thing is when you mention sales to somebody and they cringe and their body gets tight, right? There's another time I can't talk to people. I don't know how to do that. I'm not comfortable doing that, right? And it's something that it's not.
Mm,
I think sales is kind of natural for certain types of people. Not everybody can be selling. Just like not everybody can be an accountant, everybody can be an engineer, an airplane pilot. We all have our gifts, okay? But as a business
mm,
owner, you have to learn and get comfortable doing some fundamental sales activities. And so the
mhm,
first thing I do with working with people is say, listen, I'm going to take away the word sales and put in the word help. As every time I do that in a crowd, people's faces like, oh, help. I said, now see, everybody feels much better because we love to help people, right? You love to, yes, we love to help. Well, all you're doing when you're selling a product and service is you're helping somebody solve a problem. So
mhm,
immediately, it's a mindset shift. So once I get them to get over their mindset shift and to realize
mhm.
that they're not selling anything, I tell people all the time, I haven't sold anything in over 65 years. I haven't sold anybody.
Yeah.
If you have a problem and I talk to you about the solution I have and you agree that it's going to work, then we do business. It's really that simple. So that's why I help small business owners who have that fear. Everybody I talk to that's not in sales has that fear. My number one mission is to get them comfortable with using words like the word help rather than sell.
rather than sell. That's awesome. Yeah, it's kind of like this. Like I know we had spoke on where it's this. It's kind of like the doctor example, right? Like you go into the doctor's office and they're not trying to sell you all these prescriptions and whatnot, but regardless of what you think about that. But their main purpose, the first person that walks in there, whether you fill out a form or you're just talking to them, is how can we help you, right? Like what are your let's identify problems and then let's compare this to other problems from other clients or other people that have come in, and let's see where those parallels are, and if we've solved this problem in the past, it's very likely we can also solve this problem again. So I really like how you hit on there. It's really about the mind frame of helping people and just not taking it so much like a sales call, but more of a identified problem solving call, I guess would be
Exactly.
a good way.
Right.
Yeah, a good way to approach it. um so we really hit on there, where the sales start, what are some signs, someone has a fear and how they can overcome it. I think that was all really good. Now fear of getting pitched. I think there's some you'll hit on LinkedIn and they'll just think because you said how's it going that you're just trying to pitch them. Do you think what does fear of getting pitched mean in your opinion?
So we all, a lot of people I talk to about using LinkedIn, one of the first things that they, oh my God, Tom, is I get pitched. They're going to pitch me. They're going to pitch. I said, well, listen. First of all, nothing is perfect. No system out there is perfect. Secondly, is that those people that are linking up with you on Monday and send you the pitch thing the next day. I don't know who's training people to do that, but they need to just stop because that is the worst thing in the world. You don't know anything about me, my business, or anything, and your next step is, hey, I got this great program that's going to help you make six figures. Well, how do you know I'm not already making six figures? And how do you know that I don't already have enough clients? So you're making these assumptions that are really, really bad. So avoid those people. But when I meet somebody on LinkedIn and I like to talk to everybody that I meet on LinkedIn, if I can, just have a 15 to 20-minute conversation. And the conversation is about them. What are they doing? How are they doing it? What are their goals for this year? How they think they're going to make those goals? And we form a friendship, a relationship. Hey, if there's anything that I can do that I can help you, or I give them some free stuff, some free advice. Anything I can do to help you, or even better yet, they may have a problem that maybe I can't solve, but I know somebody in my network that's great at doing that. Say, hey, do you know so and so? No, let me introduce you two because I think you guys have some synergies there. That's what we should be doing on LinkedIn.
100%. I love that. Yeah, that's now. Do you think people miss opportunities because of their fear of getting pitched? Do you think that's a common theme?
Yes, because most people, or a lot of people using LinkedIn, they link up and then they send them their sales pitch. And so we've become like, oh my God, here's another person coming. So even when I'm reaching out to people in a genuine manner to say, hey, Jack, I just met you on LinkedIn. What I like to do is spend a 15 to 20-minute call with you to learn more about you. And that's all I'm interested in. I'm not interested in selling you. But we've been inundated with all these people that do that. We miss opportunities of that. So I give everybody the opportunity to chat with me if they do not send me that next message that says, hey, I have this great, awesome product and tool that's going to revolutionize the way you do business. I don't need that.
Yeah, how do you know you're not already revolutionizing the way people do business?
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. I
Listen,
love how you mentioned assumptions, and I think that's such a common theme with what kind of usually goes down in those those processes. Now, this whole experience you've had, it inspired you to write a book, better, unique, and desirable sales processes that get results. To my understanding, it's not released yet, but I really want to talk to you kind of as an author. Like, can you take me through what that experience has been? Because I know there's a lot of professionals that will watch this, especially because I'm going to put it on LinkedIn, hopefully the full version. And they're probably in kind of the same boat. They have 25, 30 years experience. They really feel like, maybe that's their next, project, I guess. Can you kind of take us through what they can expect, I guess?
So that book is out. It's been out for 2 years.
Years. Okay.
Okay, it's on Amazon.
Mhm.
I'm doing, as we speak now, I hired somebody, an actor, to do it in an audio version. So
Cool.
the audiobook version was scheduled to have it released May 1st.
Mhm.
If they want the paperback version that's been out for 2 years, they can find it on Amazon. And the reason why I wrote that book was mainly because people think selling and acquiring new clients is very complicated and complex. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that are telling people that selling is very complicated. Oh my God, it's complicated. It's hard. You know what? It's not hard. It's just different. It's like being a doctor. It's a different training, different skill set, different mindset to understanding people, because selling is about people, and people are emotional, and we buy from our emotions. We justify them with the data, but when we're buying something, we're emotional. And so when you are trying to sell somebody a product or service, you know, it should be natural, it should be genuine, it should be authentic.
Mhm.
And I tell people, sales is nothing but a bunch of great conversations with the same person over a period of time. That's all sales is. Yes, there are some hiccups in there and objections and stalls and everything else, but at the end of the day, if you don't make a connection with the person that you're talking to, you're not going to make a sale. And that boils
100%.
down to human connection. And then people buy from, and we've all heard this adage, and this is 1,000 years old. People buy from people they like, trust, and that value. And that's good. That will never go away.
Mhm. 100%. And this, when you first started writing the book, was this like a couple year project for you? Was it kind of, did you have a lot of material that you had maybe used in the past that you were able to kind of incorporate in it? Like, was it an extensive process for you? Was it rather quicker? Like, I'm always curious because I know
But
some people spend years writing books. Some people,
yeah,
they can put it
this
together rather quick.
this was a very long process, because I already had a lot of content that I shared, right?
Mhm.
Going back to 2015, 2016, when on LinkedIn it was suggested that you start writing articles and posting
Mhm.
articles on LinkedIn around that time. And so
Mhm.
I started to write articles. If you look on my LinkedIn profile now, you probably see about, I think, 80 articles. Most of
Mhm.
those who are written in 2015, 2016. And so I was doing a lot of posting of content on different sales topics. I was also doing a lot of
Mhm.
workshops for different organizations and really fine tuning, what are the people saying they want to learn more about regarding sales. And so I
Mhm.
was doing a lot of those. And then I started to talk to a lot of other people, and keep in mind, I started out as a salesperson years ago. So I was a sales rep, sales manager, VP of sales. I have all of these experiences, of living in that world every day. And then I started coaching salespeople and doing my own business. And so The book is a compilation of my life experiences. Then I also had people in the book. There are testimonials from different clients. So that
Cool.
project it took a couple years to pull it off.
Oh, that's awesome. And you mentioned, I kind of pulled this from your bio. I'm not sure if these are the processes you have in the book, but how to use LinkedIn 30 minutes a day to scale. Is that kind of what we talked on earlier, or do you want to expand on
Yes,
that at all?
yeah.
Yeah,
So that is one of my most popular presentation workshop topics.
cool.
And I came up with that because most people that I talk to, I said, listen, you have to get on LinkedIn and you have to use the tool. It's going to help your business grow. And I always heard back, I'm too busy. I don't have time. And I said, well, so I thought about that. I'm saying, well, let me see if I can figure out some way to get them to use this tool. So I came up with this program, how to use LinkedIn 30 minutes per day. And I teach people, so there's some fundamental things that you need to do every day. And I don't care if you do them 15 minutes in the morning or 15 minutes at night. People say, well, when's the best time to post on LinkedIn? And my answer has always been, whenever you have the time.
Hell yeah.
Whenever you have the time. And so I do this program and people start using it. And I'm a LinkedIn junkie. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. I'm watching football games or golf or anything on TV. I have my phone there and I'm looking at LinkedIn. I'm making appointments with people on Saturday and Sunday on LinkedIn because I realize the value of the tool and how it has helped me grow my business. And I'm not the smartest person in the world. And I figured if I can do this, everybody can.
100%. Yeah, I love that. And I think you've touched on like kind of a big theme here, which I think a lot of people, it really focuses on like the prospects that you go after and the people that you can actually help. And it really appears, you've taken this approach to where, you don't have to help everyone, but if you can identify those people that, aren't on your level that want to potentially get to your level within sales, like you kind of hit on where it's like, if you have 100 people that how to do this better than, or like that your expertise level, even if you're not the smartest LinkedIn person in the world, it's like you were still able to identify, well, I'm still probably smarter than, 100 potential people, at this, and I could still potentially help, 100 plus people at this. And I think that would really help simplify the game, like you mentioned, as far as not getting so caught up in like, trying to sell to every single person that comes in the inbox. It's like, focus on those people that, again, you can actually help, but also that you identify are early stage founders that don't have 25 years experience. Or in my case, it's like, just to bring up a good example, I've only been at LinkedIn probably 3 years now, where I've, actually used it to scale. So my pool of people that I'm, quote unquote, an expert with is going to be a lot smaller. And, identifying kind of those opportunities, it's a more niche down thing, but they're still out there. There's still people that don't have 2-3 years experience, but then there's also people that have 25 plus years experience. And again, it becomes more of an opportunity chat, and we create situations like this, and I get to learn so much. So I think like if you're if you're in year 1 through 10 and you get on the phone with somebody who's in years 10 through 30, it's like, okay, you can really learn something from them. And if you get on the other side, you can take the approach of, these guys can probably learn something from me. And I think it helps kind of the dynamic of the conversation and just kind of the overall relationship, like you touched on.
Yep. And you know what, Jack, what is still amazing to me, and I do this workshop, I probably do this workshop every month.
Cool.
And I'm amazed that people aren't using LinkedIn, right? They don't use it. They don't have a profile that resonates with their audience. So you can have a LinkedIn profile, but if your profile is not a customer centric profile that talks to people about how you help them solve specific problems, it's a resume. And people don't give a damn about what you did in the past. They want to know how you can help them solve these particular problems. So a lot of times I do workshops and I see people's profile and it's a resume.
Mhm.
It's Thomas Ellis, president and CEO of EWC Consultants. Who cares about that? What does that mean?
Mhm.
Right? You need a headline of what do you do immediately. You got to grab people's attention. So I just had a client a couple of weeks ago who I helped redesign their LinkedIn profile, and now I'm helping them to use the tool. I get requests like that all the time. So it's still a lot of people out there that need that basic fundamental help of how to use the tool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you also talked about I saw it outlined in there as well, the power of social selling. So, first off, what is social selling? And then also, where do you see people being able to, I guess, raise that level of power and influence?
So social selling is about, and there's tons of definition on this as as well. You know, it is the power to create great content and talk to your target audience. Okay, every person that sells a product and service has a target audience. Your target audience is not everybody. Okay, it's a niche market, niche. So you have to figure out what and when I'm talking to new business to small business owners, I want to get them to think about servicing three vertical markets, not the whole gamut, because you can't be an expert to everybody. You can be an expert to a few. So social selling is about taking a look at your market and your product and see where your product fits and who's your target audience. Who are you targeting for your company, products and services? And then using LinkedIn, doing podcasts, using YouTube. All those are aspects of social selling.
100%. Yeah, that's super valid. Now, troops, tips to get appointments with networking. Can you take us through that? I know it probably centers around this whole theme of relationship
You know,
building, and then you know, but
the,
I did see that one on there, and yeah.
so the reason I'm laughing, Jack, because I just did a workshop, a webinar the other day for
Mhm.
an association, and it was about networking. Well, it's springtime here, right? And so everybody's getting back out to networking. And so I have these tips that I personally use for many years and teach people. The number one tip about networking is that it's not about you, it's about them. Okay? So don't spend all your time telling them what you do. Spend time learning about what they do and what challenges they're having. And stop asking them this question: what do you do? Stop asking that question. Ask them other questions like, what brings you to this event? How often do you attend this event? What are your goals for your business for the next 6, 12, 18 months? How are
Mhm.
you going to get there? What help might you need to get there? Those are great conversations, right? And that's being
Mhm.
different. That's going to the networking event and not doing what everybody else does. Okay. Tip two is to get there early, right? Get there early because at the end of the day, Jack, nobody likes to go networking. It's an it's mainly in the evening time where a lot of us are introverts. I talk to people who really get nervous about networking, and I teach them to listen, sit in your car before you go in, have silence meditate, get your mind ready to go in there. And here's all you're going to do. You're going to go in and talk to as many people as you possibly can and leave that networking event with 3 people that have said, Jack, we should have another conversation again. And you figure out how they want to be contacted and you follow up. The third tip is the follow up, right? Once I go there, meet people that say, hey, Thomas, let's talk further, business card, I follow up within 24 hours. Hey, Jack, it was great meeting you at the ABC event. Per our conversation, you suggested that we get together for a 15 to 20-minute phone chat. Are you available Monday at 2 o'clock or Tuesday at 3 o'clock? Boom. Those are my networking tips. The big tip is it's about them and not about you.
Them and not about you. And again, to bring up another, my biggest takeaway from How to Win Friends and Influence People, obviously I read it about probably a year ago now, and it was like the main desire everyone has is to feel important. And the only way you make someone feel important is by showing that you care about what they're interested in. You care about, you mentioned like those questions. I like to kind of frame that as storytelling questions. Being in my dating years, I use this when I'm out at the bar with, trying to meet an attractive girl. It's like, I want them to do 99% of the talking, right? And so you don't ask like, oh, what do you do and where do you go to school? It's more like you mentioned, oh, like what brings you to town? Who are your friends? Let's talk about how did you meet them? And like it's kind of like the same thing. Like, oh, you're in this industry now. Tell me about that. Why are you pulled to this arena more than others based on you have all these experiences? So I really like what you hit on there. It's like obviously get there early, take a deep breath, and focus on leaving there with three real conversations and make sure you follow up. If you tell someone you're going to do something, do it. It sounds simple, but a lot of people, it's like, oh, they'll remember me and they'll reach out to me if they really want to go. I get this with my guy friends all the time. It's like, oh, she'll hit me up if she wants to talk. I'm like, oh yeah, because there's not 100 other business owners and 100 other guys that are thinking the
Exactly.
same, same
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly. And see, the key there, Jack, is everybody wants to be pursued, right? Everybody wants you to pursue them. And we need to really understand that this whole dynamic about making people feel important. If you really want to blow somebody's mind at a networking event, introduce them. They mention something to you about something they may need help with. You may have just been talking to a person that does what they need help with. Blow their mind by saying, hey, Jack, I was just talking to John. John does what you need. Let's walk over so I can introduce you to John.
Yeah.
You want to blow somebody's mind, right? You do that at a networking event. That person is going to be like, oh my God, Thomas, thank you very much. They're going to feel like they owe you something, but you're doing it because you're trying to connect and help people.
100%. And they always remember, I've kind of grown up as the connector, and I'm sure you probably have as well in your career. And it's like, I always tell people, if you're having trouble making friends, become the connector, become the guy that organizes things, become the guy that introduces to someone, because it shows that you're listening and it shows that you actually are like, giving a shit about what they're saying. But then also, not only do they remember that person, but they're always, both those people will be like, oh, how did we meet? Oh, Jack introduced us. Oh, Thomas actually introduced us. I haven't talked to Thomas Ellis in 10 years. I wonder how he's doing, and it's like, oh yeah, he does LinkedIn and now I'm growing this big business. Like maybe I should reach out, and see if he can help me. So it pays dividends, kind of down the line. And it's because they remember that mutual connection point. It's like kind of how, to bring up the bar example again, right? Like, oh, where did you meet, your girlfriend or boyfriend? It's like, oh, that bar, and they were playing that song. It's like, it's kind of the same thing when you come into sales and networking. It's like, oh, I remember him from that person because we had this conversation, and we just retain information a lot better, like you said, when it pulls on our emotions and we remember how it made us feel. Like we all remember how we felt in that moment and, during that. So I think that's super cool.
You know
That's
what? The
awesome.
other thing I want to talk about is I use the word bud, BUD, better, unique, and desirable.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
people remember me from doing workshops years ago. They would see me at networking events, and they just say, "Hey, you're the bud guy. The better, you unique, desirable. Yeah, yeah, you're the guy. How you doing?" And that acronym kind of stuck with me. And as I thought about that, that's all I really do is help people become better, unique, and desirable. People want to work with people that are better, right? So, how do you become better? You're better prepared, you're better organized. People remember you because you ask better questions, you have better conversation, right?
uh,
Unique. You do things that are kind of different. You're not, asking them the same questions. You're different perspective, right? Desirable. Everybody wants to work with somebody that's desirable. They do what they say they're going to do. And from the first meeting that you have with them, when you leave that meeting, they're thinking, I got to find a way to work with this person. I like this person. And that's I
mhm.
tell people, if you take the better, unique, and desirable into everything that you do, not only in work, but in life, you're going to have a great life.
Yeah. 100%, man. I love how you outlined that too, because I think people could read the book, they could see it right off the bat. What does that mean? Better, unique, and desirable. But it's like you just said, you could actually apply this to really, really everything, because that's what people want, and ultimately, you want them to want you, and you want them to know you want them, per se. So I think that's awesome. Kind of one question we always do. I always give the guest an opportunity, just kind of based on what you know about me and our experience, what would be one question you have for the host?
So, when did you realize that this is what you wanted to actually do, and where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I realized I wanted to be on social media, in the social media marketing space. As I say, that's kind of where I started at about 5 years ago. And it stemmed from my first podcast experience. So once I'd only used social media as like a personal tool to kind of talk to friends. But then once I wanted to do this podcast, I was like, well, people have to see it. So I need to understand, how do I get this content out? What's the most effective way? And it opened my eyes to, even only having a few hundred followers at the time, like the response and like the amount of conversations I started having in my DMs. And I was like, oh, this is social networking. Like, this is what they mean, why these are social networks. It's not just a social app. You can actually create. I always say I have more internet friends than I do in person friends. And we see each other a couple times a year at networking events or at retreats or whatever it is. And it all stemmed because I started the podcast and I started putting myself out there as far as what I did. And then that culminated, 4 years into college and really experiencing what it was like to be a social media manager at another company, and realizing, that wasn't necessarily the route I wanted to go, but I did see other opportunities. And I got into sales, and I was working with a LinkedIn consulting firm, and they were kind of the reason I wanted to work with them was because, like you said, better, unique, and desirable product right there. Nobody's just focused on LinkedIn. And so I saw it as an opportunity lane, but then also a lane that could help me a lot, because I realized all my sales conversations when I was setting appointments or I was on the phone were with, top level founders like yourself, 3, 4 times a day. And I was like, oh, wow, like if I can just, even if I don't sell these people, like I'm learning so much. I can only imagine what this does for somebody, who's not using the platform. Like, I'm sure a lot of people have no idea that LinkedIn's this powerful as far as getting in the room with certain people. So that's really where I guess that started for me. And now, 2 years down the line, having helped, over 100 founders experience that, I really get a kick out of it. And when you talk about the 5 year plan, I actually kind of came to this realization not too long ago, where it was like, what am I really passionate about? What do I really love to do? And what would I love to get paid for? And it's in the content production and the podcast space. Like, I'd love to do. I've been a ghostwriter for influencers before, like writing skits and whatnot. So it's really about now. I'd love to do more content production, and then also getting more people into the podcast space, whether that's me as an interviewer, whether that's me as a producer. And just, yeah, I really live by this fact that if people don't know who you are, what you do, and who you help, you can't expect them to work with you. And while LinkedIn's a great tool, and I'll always have this, and hopefully automate most of the business when I do decide to pursue more of the podcast space full on. This is kind of the second part of that. So now it's like I can help people with sales and networking, but also now I can help them get seen. And by having good interview questions, or being able to go to events for them and film, or interview at the events, or write their show for them. Maybe they don't know anything about their guest, and they need somebody that writes it up based on their personality and whatnot. So yeah, the 5-year plan is to go all in with podcast production and content, helping write and create content for creators. And then obviously, if they're in a B2B space, I always have the LinkedIn, to fall back on. But yeah, I'd really like to scale the current LinkedIn offer to, like you said, of 25 to 50 sustainable relationships. And then just have those be my clients. Like, you know what, you guys were a part of this when I was really all in with it, and I still am, but I just want to be all in with 25, 30 people, and not trying to always service and run ads. And as your company grows, there's more resources you need to acquire, and you need to put people on salary, and you need to do all those things that go into creating a big company. But my big company has always really been me. It's always been Jack's the outside the box thinker that, influences businesses with creative ideas and execution, and, his network. So that's really the 5-year plan for me. And, this has been a great first, I guess, year and a half into that, as far as, getting that off the ground. But yeah, that was a good question.
Thank you, sir. And you're going to be wildly successful. I just have that feeling in my gut that says this guy's going to do big things. So just remember me.
Yes, sir. I will not forget. No doubt about that. Well, man, we've been at this about 45 plus minutes. Is there anything we have not touched on that you'd like to kind of explore a little deeper, or anything?
No, so we can talk about this for hours and hours upon hours. I've enjoyed the conversation. I hope that the people that listen to this come up and think about some new ways to help grow their business. And if they're looking to, continue to learn about me and what I do, the best place would be to find me on LinkedIn. Another place to find me would be on my website, and that's www.tellissales coach.com. And reach out and touch.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll put the link to your book in the bio, as well as a link to your LinkedIn. So if you guys just pop down to the description, you can find everything you need to know about Thomas. And I like you said, he's open to 15, 20-minute conversations. So you guys, something resonated with you here. If you're looking for a good sales coach with 25 plus experience that's not just selling you some course on Instagram, then Thomas is definitely your guy. Thank you so much, man. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you, sir.
All
Take
right.
care.
Let me stop this. Cool.